What is up, everybody? We are back for this year's edition of the MFL10 podcast series. This is the DFS Power Hour podcast with new co-host Ryan Hodge, and we are joined by guest TJ Hernandez, who I assume everybody knows. If not, find him on Twitter at TJ Hernandez. He writes for 4for4 Football, and he is, I guess you could say, owner and CEO, or part owner and CEO of rostercoach.com. Make sure to check them out as well. And I am John Proctor, and we're going to chat some quarterbacks. What's up, TJ?
What's up, boys? Thanks for having me. Hodge, what is this? Is this your second official episode as co-host?
Yeah, that it is.
I would congratulate you on filling really big shoes, but I don't think you've been put in an easier spot having to fill Scott's shoes, like really small shoes to fill.
It was easy.
So no congratulations at all. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
And Scott probably won't even watch this to defend himself.
No. He's big time now.
He's too busy with Steve.
He's busy defending Matthew Berry on Twitter, dude.
Oh.
Shots fired early. We're getting off
good.
to it's a holiday weekend.
It's good.
It's true, dude. July 4th, we have to have fireworks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to talk. There's Scott in the chat already. Oh, telling me to eat a dick. We have started quick. So, guys, let's talk some quarterbacks for 2017. I've done probably 30 MFL 10s. Hodge, I know you're just getting started. TJ, how many have you done so far?
I'm in 23, have completed 18. So my goal is in the 45-50 range. So I'll start bumping up my volume here down the stretch, but I don't consider myself a super high volume player, just enough to write some somewhat reliable content and keep a pulse on what's going on throughout the season, draft season.
Hodge, how many are you at right now, and how many do you plan to do?
So I'll probably push. I pushed 60 last year. I think it was 55, 56. And honestly, I think I'll stay right around there. I might venture into those 50-50 ones that they have going on. What are they called? The MFL 2X or something like that?
2Xs, yeah.
I wanted to look at my data and just see where I finished in the previous 50 that I did last year. But you draft differently, so I had to take it with a little grain of salt because I think you approach those a little bit differently. But I'm pushing just over 10 right now. I think I'm in 13 and I have 9 completed or something. I'll have to double check.
Fair enough. So you guys have let's start just right off the bat. Is there a single quarterback that you guys plan to be legitimately overweight on? Mine right now is Blake Bortles, and we'll get to that. But do you guys have a quarterback that you either are overweight on or are going to be overweight on? TJ, you first.
Yeah, I don't start managing my player shares too closely until right about where we're at right now. I kind of let the drafts diversify naturally early on. And then once I get kind of to that 20-30 mark, I'll start forcing the issue a little bit. But the guy that I'm really on, and I'll be way overweight on, is Andy Dalton. I mean, we could start with his price. You could get him outside of the top 15 quarterbacks pretty much. I think his ADP is quarterback 16 or 17. And anybody that's been paying attention to fantasy through this point in the season knows that he is likely to probably one of the most likely candidates to regress positively in the NFL. He had the second lowest touchdown rate both overall and in the red zone relative to his career rates of any passer in the league. And we expect him to have A.J. Green and Tyler Eifert healthy. John Ross is going to help that offense, at least in real life, maybe not so much in fantasy. And finally probably has a real running back behind him. Offensive line will still be an issue, but I think with all those weapons, it'll keep people defenses off the line a little bit, which should help out that offensive line in turn. So I think he should, even if he just regresses back to the league or his career averages, I think he's going to be a steal and should pretty easily outperform his ADP this year.
Do you have concerns that he'll break his thumb trying to run in goal line touchdowns, though?
I mean, I have lots of concerns about him because he's Andy Dalton, and he's prone to do a lot of awful things besides breaking his thumb. But like I said, he's basically free at this point. I'm getting him as my quarterback too, almost every time. So the concerns are pretty minimal.
Yeah, and I think like the consensus on Twitter is that his offensive line is going to make him like unable to do anything. But I feel like that's at this point like more than priced in.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I mean, kind of like I mentioned, just they were kind of able to, without all the weapons available to him, I mean, just being able to move up a safety to not have to worry about Green or Eifert, or even a couple safeties, move them up closer. That could really take a lot of pressure off of their offensive line, just not having so many men in the box to have to worry about.
Hodge, you in on Dalton? You look like you're contemplating
I have 0% of them right now, and I think that's just more a case of me only being 8 or 9 through MFL10s and getting Mariota still like in the back half of the ninth round, and then waiting on a guy like Sam Bradford or Eli Manning. So I think I'll end up with a little bit more Eli than Dalton at the end of the day. What the Giants ran, three wide receivers, whoo, them beers, 3 wide receivers, close to like 94-95% of the time all year last year. They're getting an upgrade there. Their offensive line should get an upgrade. I think it's going to be far better than Cincinnati's offensive line. So I think Eli is going to be my Dalton.
I have Dalton over Eli, but I get it. I don't know. I struggle with Eli every year.
Yeah, that's go ahead, TJ.
The thing I like about Eli, he's another guy I've been recently trying to buy up. I don't know why people don't talk more about the fact that Ben McAdoo comes from that Green Bay family tree. And if we look at what Green Bay's done, they've ran their offense pretty much exclusively through their wide receivers. Obviously, Eli isn't Aaron Rodgers, but if we look at how much they've ignored the running back position and then bringing in Brandon Marshall, you can say what you will about what you think he's going to do after last year. But they were already running most of their offense through the passing game last year, and now they're bringing a guy like Marshall, drafted tight end. I don't see how they aren't going towards that Green Bay system of offense with McAdoo calling plays.
I agree with you there. I just worry about the Eli decline from the Eli standpoint. But
it's not like he had a great year last year. So if anything, he's also due for positive regression.
I guess the concern is that whether or not he's dropping off that quarterback cliff, it can just hit, and a dude's just like toast. So I don't know. But then again, Eli is like.
The thing about Eli is you're getting such a cheap Odell arbitrage, and then if Shepard and Marshall are anywhere close to their potential, it's not like we have to handpick the games in the MFL10s where he goes full Eli retard or he just has a great game. Like he can, you're getting to cherry pick. You're getting to cherry pick the best games. So that's why I'm fine with taking him.
Well, and his TD percentage was down last year too by like 0.5%. His career pushing 5, and last year was like 4.3. So I think he has an ADP after Dalton. Am I wrong on that? Let's see.
I think they're right next to each other.
They're close.
Andy Dalton, current 1105, Eli Manning 1109. So yeah, I mean, you're really picking your poison there.
He was just he was so bad last year, and I think that's priced in too.
So is Cam Newton was bad last year. You telling me he's going to have the same exact year this year?
I know TJ is a big fan.
I mean, all the Cam slander I put out on Twitter, he's a guy that, I mean, he's going to have a bounce back year in some respect. I think he only scored, 3 touchdowns on the ground last year, maybe just 2. And he had the lowest touchdown rate of his career, both overall and in the red zone. So he's going to boomerang back a little bit towards good Cam. and you're getting him. He was a guy that was going in the 4th round, 5th round last year. Now you're getting him in the 9th, sometimes 10th if you're lucky.
Exactly.
In a format where most teams, most owners have 2 quarterbacks by the 12th or 13th round. So, like, if you're getting him when people have already drafted 1 quarterback in these leagues in the same range, like,
right,
you're paying the absolute floor that you should for Cam.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, last year he was pretty overpriced. I think he made it into the 3rd round by the end of the season. It was crazy. I don't know. The question is, like, do you want Cam or do you want Marcus Mariota?
Well, you're paying more for Mariota today.
They're pretty close, I think, right? I think they're both like ADP 98.
Today, yes. I think the trend is going to go in the complete opposite direction, though, right? Cam will start to fall and Mariota will start to climb as people who aren't doing MFL10s today, like a bunch of nerds, or who haven't been doing MFL10s for the past month, and as they start to do those towards the end of July, as they're doing their draft preparation and getting the itch, I think those ADPs drastically continue to swing in the current direction. But yeah.
If you had to pick right now between the 2 of them, who do you pick?
I'll probably take the hype on Mariota.
I mean, are we assuming they stay at the same price, or just talking about their price right now?
So I'm just looking, like, right now you have Mariota going pick like
8-12.
96, 97. Cam's going like 97, 98. It's pretty close.
I think I think I'll take the weapons and just the better quarterback in that situation and go with Mariota.
Yep.
Yeah. But I do agree with you, Hodge. I think it might become a bigger gap.
So the thing with Mariota is, over the past 4 weeks, he's risen 12 spots in regards to his ADP. So I think that will only continue as more people start doing MFL10s.
Maybe. Although I think the initial Decker signing gave him that, like, jettison into where he is. I don't know how much farther he'll go, but I think Carr, Newton, and Carr, Newton, and Mariota will stay close together. I think they're kind of like a coupled group right now. We'll see if Mariota makes his way, like, beyond the other 2. Do you guys, on the side note, do you like Carr more than Newton?
I mean, I feel like this is another gun to your head type scenario where, because I think their ADP today, if we were to go do a draft today, they're all within a pick or 2 of one another. And I actually still think I'm going Mariota. I also think that can be a product of your current draft, though. If you end up having a weapon from the Raiders, like you went Amari, you went Crabtree, then I think you go Carr, right? Or if you're planning on getting somebody like Decker later on, or maybe you even drafted DeMarco Murray as one of your running backs, I think you go Mariota there, and I think you just try and stack a little bit. So, I mean, that's more of a product of your existing team than anything, in MFL 10 specifically.
I have a hard time taking Carr over either of those guys, just because both Cam and Mariota have shown that they could either be super efficient overall in Mariota's case, or just be one of the best fantasy quarterbacks in the league in Cam's case. And I mean, Carr hasn't shown either of those things, the potential, and you could write a story in terms of increased efficiency or better luck in the red zone, where he does jump up into those QB1 ranks. But I would have at least rather have seen it and not have the quarterback on a team that I mean, I guess you can make the same argument for Mariota, but you can see how Mariota's trend is going towards more of a pass-heavy team with better weapons, where the Raiders have the same weapons. They have a very explosive offense, but they're going to keep the running game involved a lot. Whether you think Marshawn's going to be a big part of that or not, they have 3 running backs that are very capable of making some noise and taking away some of that upside. So I think Carr ranks 3rd pretty easily out of those 3 guys for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. It's just, I think that's like for me, the most interesting range, because I feel like that's in some degree sort of where like the QB1 drop first happens. I mean, then you have like Big Ben and Dak and Stafford. after that.
How much do you care about that drop off in MFL10s compared to redraft though? Because kind of my philosophy is I don't really give a shit if I miss that kind of tier drop off because I can replace it just through my committee where I don't have to cherry pick the games. Where in redraft, I'm like, okay, if I do really care about that in a 12-team league, I'm paying more attention to it.
No,
Right.
I think that's a great point because especially if you look at somebody like Roethlisberger who was pushing 30 fantasy points per game at home, you don't have to worry about his away games in an MFL 10, right? You can literally rely on somebody like who Johnny said, a Blake Bortles or even a Tannehill way way to hopefully make up for Ben Roethlisberger's away games. I think that's a great point. Sorry, Johnny, I kind of cut you off.
No. That's sort of kind of what TJ was saying is sort of how I draft MFLs is, I'm not like trigger happy to get some guy where I'm going to take him 6 spots before ADP, rather than wait for him on a turn or something like that. If I don't get him, I don't get him. So I'm not upset if I miss on Mariota or Carr or Newton. And I think there are times where those guys fall and they're easy picks, but there are also times where they're going in the 8th round and, I'm not doing that. But I am less excited about, the Rivers, the Roethlisberger, the Cousins bracket than I am that Carr, Mariota, Newton bracket. It feels like a bigger drop, I think, than the earlier drops of tiers, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it does make a lot of sense. And Hodge was talking about what we think is going to happen getting closer to the season. I just looked up FF calculator, and that tends to mirror kind of like the public a little bit more. And if we think that MFL 10 ADPs might start trending in that direction, on FF Calc, they have Derek Carr going at 606, Cam Newton at 705, and Mariota not going till 9.03 as the quarterback 12. So we're kind of underestimating what the public perception is going to be on those guys as the open, hopefully something not overhopped.
That 606 for Carr seems absurd. Like you're passing on a lot of good opportunity there.
But how much does that's kind of where I always, not even just in MFL 10, but just in fantasy football as a whole, try to separate myself from how much are we our pulse on what the public thinks compared to like our Twitter bubble, because we're surrounded by not even just like the analysts, but the people that are engaged are like the sharpest minds in the world. And then a lot of these ADPs just kind of mirror like these big site rankings or something like a big contract that Carr just signed. Like people take a lot of account into that and aren't necessarily looking at regression or play splits or whatnot when in the overall fantasy landscape.
It's a really good point. And just to plug your home site there, 4for4 has a multi-site ADP tool where they aggregate everything from like ESPN and FFPCs, MFL10s, NFL.com, like you name it. So you can see a little bit more what the public's doing there as well. So good point.
Scott, man, you got a hot take on the Newton, Carr, Mariota? I feel like you dropped in for a hot take.
Yeah, you look tan.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
That's right. It'll just like be like reading one of your articles.
Oh my God. This is good. So Scott, give us a, because we seem to be in this argument of a Cam Newton, Mariota, or Derek Carr. Where are you at on those three?
Yeah, all three are really great guys. It's just really nice people. Fans of the word. Good football players, so you really can't go wrong.
This is perfect. I'm super glad. I'm so glad.
Hey, man. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, I knew you guys were missing my hard-hitting analysis.
This is why you need to pay for a PFF subscription right there. That is why.
Yeah.
Are you wearing contacts to make your eyes look lighter?
I think it's just really good lighting. I don't know.
Oh, all right.
Is this your new desktop?
Why is TJ lost in my eyes? Yeah, this is the new desktop.
So you're not podcasting from a couch on a flipped over trash can?
Commute, ready? This is my bed, and then I'm at my desktop.
Sweet, man.
That's good. Damn.
Thanks, Scott.
But yeah, so I think Carr's really good because he's going to make a lot of money. So they wouldn't pay him all that money if he's not really good.
Oh man, dude, Scott.
Who gave him the link? Was that you, Proctor?
Yeah, bad move. Scott, where do you think the drop off is for like the QB1-ish? And I know Amico has made it clear that we don't have to only have 12 QB1s. So where do you think the QB1 drop off is after like the Carr, Mariota, Newton, some people put Rivers, Prescott up there. Where do you drop? Where do you feel like the cliff hits in MFL?
Yeah, so if I'm looking at QB1s, that's top 12 QBs, the fall off for me is probably after those first 12 QBs, because then you're bordering on QB2 territory because there's more than 12. So yeah. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to come in, drop those stats for you. Big fan of the show. Love what you guys have done with it since I left. TJ, always a pleasure. I'll see you guys later.
It was great to see you.
Bye, Scott.
Scott Barrett, everyone.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Don't even just.
So all right. So Cousins and Roethlisberger. Do you guys think that they are close to like Carr, Mariota, Cam? I don't think they are, and I'm not buying Cousins. We can talk about that a little bit. But do you guys think they're a drop, like a legit drop from those three, or do you think they're close?
I think
I'll let you take that one, Hodge.
I think that they are. So if you want to tier it, I'll go tier 1, Rodgers, Brady. I think Breeze goes in there. Breeze has been a top 5, top 6 quarterback for like 9-10 years. Like it's ridiculous. So when you buy Breeze, you're just buying stability if you believe in that at your quarterback position. So I'll put him in the top 3. And then I think it goes Luck, probably Wilson, and then I think you can put Matt Ryan in there. I know regression is coming for him in regards to his TD upside, as well as like I think the attempts will be there. His completion percentage is probably going to drop a little bit too. So I think you can put him in that tier, and then we'll go with Jameis Winston, Mariota, Carr, and Cam Newton. I honestly think is kind of like that separate tier. And then I think you have Cousins, Dak, Stafford, Ben Roethlisberger, something along those lines. Obviously, I think you can interchange those depending on your feelings and what data you've put together. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. So I think they are at an outside tier.
For me, we can talk Cousins in a minute, but I'm not buying Cousins at ADP. I think he's a drop from that tier. Roethlisberger, I think, is a guy that I'm sort of just marking him off for missing at least a game or two. And I don't want a guy that I'm relying on 50% of his games to score me fantasy points. And then there's Rivers, who I think I like the most of that next group, and he goes 5, 6, 7, 8 picks later than the other few. And then Stafford goes before Rivers, so I'm buying less of Stafford, but I like Stafford. But then I think you get you get Dalton, Eli, Wentz, Bortles, those kinds of guys. So I feel like I'm going to end up with sort of next to none of Cousins and Roethlisberger and Stafford in that tier that seems to be close in ADP to Newton, Mariota, and Carr, but I don't think is close to them in fantasy value. I don't know. What do you think, TJ?
I agree with you guys on Roethlisberger, and I think he's slightly out of the quarterback 1 ranks for all the reasons you guys stated. Home away splits, the fact that Le'Veon could just take over the game and score a lot of those touchdowns that Ben might get, and because of his health. I'm more bullish on Cousins than you guys, just for the simple fact that
Nope, just more bullish than Proctor. You can put me in your camp.
If we look at his efficiency numbers like adjusted yards per attempt, adjusted net yards per attempt, combine it with his touchdown rates, he's up there with the guys like Russell Wilson and whatnot. And I think that he is going to improve in the red zone, assuming Jordan Reed stays healthy, bringing in Terrell Pryor. He had two of the worst red zone weapons in the league last year in Pierre Garcon and Deshaun Jackson. And I mean, people assume Deshaun isn't a red zone weapon, but he got double-digit red zone targets last year, as did Garcon. And they've both, over the course of their career, been really poor. So he overcame them in an area where quarterbacks score the most touchdowns to still finish as a QB6. And he's kind of one of those sneaky Konami code guys, kind of like Ryan Fitzpatrick. No one thinks of him as a rusher, but he's going to give you 20 rushing yards a game, which really adds up, especially if you're looking at end of season ranks. And again, I'm not even trying to be hot takey here. I would put him ahead of Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan would finish out my QB1 ranks as QB12. I would bump up Jameis ahead of Matt Ryan as well. I think Matt Ryan's going to really have a fall off without Shanahan. He's barely squeaking into QB1 ranks for me. So I would finish off the tier with Cam, Cousins, and then Matt Ryan.
Yeah, and we'll get to Brian Hoyer in a little bit because, we've seen that Shanahan can make bad quarterbacks like Matt Ryan good. So he can do things with Brian Hoyer too. But my issues with Cousins are like, I think the loss of Deshaun Jackson is something that's hard to quantify. I don't think we can really take the, it's hard to find the data to say that, Deshaun Jackson is clearing out safeties. Deshaun Jackson's clearing out, second corners. I mean, Deshaun Jackson is doing things that are hard to quantify. And I think that he has made Cousins good over the last few years. And I think that I don't know what the drop off is going to be without him. And it scares the shit out of me. I just, I don't think that you look at, everyone talks up Crowder and it's like, he was running slot routes with Garcon on one end, Deshaun on the other, and Jordan Reed clearing out, a lot of the middle too. Of course he was successful. I mean, what slot receiver wouldn't be successful with those guys around him? So it sort of bothers me. I think it's definitely a drop off of what he had as weapons last year. You guys aren't concerned about the loss of Jackson?
Well, no. I mean, I don't know why. I don't think that it's that big of a deal. I think that Crowder was like a 70% catch rate guy last year, and I think he continues to do that.
I think it's easy to have that kind of a catch rate when you're running sort of wide open in the middle of the field because they have to put, two players on Deshaun Jackson, two players on Jordan Reed.
I mean, I'm not saying he is these guys, but if we look at early career trajectories and kind of similar player profile types, he profiles like an Edelman and Antonio Brown type in both of those, in both like size, stature, and early career production, especially in efficiency. Now, I do agree with you with the Deshaun making it easier on him aspect, but I don't underestimate what Terrell Pryor brings to the team. Obviously, we're going out on a limb assuming a healthy Jordan Reed, but my contention would be that Kirk Cousins finished as a QB10 when Deshaun only played 8 games in 2015.
And it's like I don't think Cousins is necessarily bad, but I think that he has serious limitations.
But you're getting Cousins cheaper. Well, I mean, you're getting Cousins cheaper than the tier that we just talked about, right? That Newton, Carr,
just after those guys.
And he career-wise is like a 23-ish and a half fantasy points per game player. And that's a larger sample size. I know just using fantasy points per game is not the best thing in the world to use when there's a lot more advanced metrics out there. But if you kind of want to look at something to just encompass it all, that's not bad. And if you can get Cousins later than you can Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan has been a barely quarterback one every year other than last year. So I think TJ's correct on his take there. And I think Cousins is worth it. Cousins is actually somebody that I'm considering as my quarterback one in the FFPC league that I'm going to go do. And he's somebody that I would like to get more shares of in an MFL10. It's just not happening.
He just scares me, man.
Why?
I don't know. he throws so many picks. He throws so many balls that should be picked.
Yeah, well, I think the latter half of that is true.
And I don't know. I don't think that. I mean, this is obviously just like conjecture, but like I don't think that him and Bortles are like that far from the types of players they are. I mean, you have these inaccurate young quarterbacks that are still able to, put up like huge yardage touchdown games. But you're paying a premium for a guy who has been to some degree a roller coaster. I mean, we like Cousins because he's put up huge yardage numbers throughout his career, but he's not lighting up the scoreboard with touchdowns.
So
but we hope that he regresses to doing that.
Well, so I think here to help make your point is you're just saying that you like Bortles at his current price than you do Cousins at his current price. Or you're just not a Cousins believer at all. Like that, I guess that's what I want to solidify here. Do you not believe in Cousins at all? Are you saying he will finish outside of the top 12 this year?
I think he will.
Okay. There it is. I just want it on record.
It's fine, man. I'll take Rivers. I'll take Rivers all day.
I smell some Avi bets.
We'll end up betting money on Cousins and Rivers, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Why would, I mean, given what that team has invested in, their philosophy, why wouldn't we assume that his attempts and yardage totals can't be maintained? I feel like that's like the one spot where we can count on that predictability, if anything. I mean, yeah, he's going to be a little volatile in his touchdowns and interceptions, but why aren't they going to keep throwing the ball? Like they don't have a backfield, and what did they invest a fourth-round pick in a running back that might usurp Fat Rob?
Well, yeah. So to the running back, it's Chris Thompson, right? And I think I don't know.
Was it Samaje?
Ryan, yeah.
Or P Ryan. I still don't know how to say it. It's either P Ryan, which sounds weird, or Perrine. But Chris Thompson was like he caught like 3 balls a game or something like that. So the reception out of the backfield is there for Kirk Cousins. But to TJ's point, I still think they throw the ball a ton. It's really that as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I still think he gets 550 to 600 attempts, but I think that there's plenty of quarterbacks that are going to get those types of attempts, and I think he'll fall behind a few of them. I think Rivers is one. I think Dalton is one. I think probably Stafford and Dak are guys I'm taking over Cousins, which I don't know, might be hot takey. I'm shaky on the offensive. It's a new offensive. It's not a new identity, but it's a new crew.
Sure. No, that's fair. He does have to deal with that. So I understand where you're coming from. Anyways, I think that might be enough on Cousins.
That's fair. Let's talk Rivers. I'm really high on Rivers. He's like my, I don't know, QB 11, something like that. You guys buying Rivers?
Tej from San Diego, what's your thoughts?
I mean, just for the simple fact that he's priced down from where he usually is going. He's always a little bit underrated, at least in terms of like ADP relative to where we expect him to finish. I think he's been a QB1 for 4 or 5 seasons in a row now. And last year he was just super unlucky with interceptions. He had the highest interception rate of his career, while still being pretty efficient, at least compared to his career averages in terms of touchdown rate and red zone touchdown rate. And he has the weapons around him. So if we assume that number interceptions, that tends to regress a lot, that is pretty random and susceptible to luck, comes back a little bit, then that means more drives stay alive and more touchdown opportunity with an offense that is full of weapons. If Keenan Allen's healthy, and who knows what to expect out of Mike Williams, but you have an ascending Hunter Henry, Tyrell Williams, who I think is a lot better than most people give him credit for. That's going to be a really hard passing offense to defend, and they have a backfield with 2 running backs that are going to be involved in the pass game. We know Gordon can catch, and assuming Brandon Oliver is back to full health, he's going to be that pass-catching back that they've traditionally had in that San Diego offense, whether it be Sproles or Woodhead or someone like that.
Yep, I'm with you guys on Rivers. Johnny knows how much I am a believer in Keenan Allen. I think I'm in love with Keenan Allen at the back half of the second round, somebody that I'm totally willing to invest in. As TJ pointed out, a career high interception rate of like 21. Before that, he was usually around 13, 11. I think in 2016, well, here I'll go to, what was it? It was 2014. He had 18, but his TD percentage was a little above his career mark, but over the past 5 years, it was right around average. And Rivers been throwing the football since 2007, 2006. So I think,
man.
Yeah, I think everything about Phillip Rivers is appropriate. I think the attempts, what was it, in 2015 were a career high. He threw close to 600 last year, and I think he's going to be right around that 600 mark this year. I don't think he'll be a whole lot over it. He's definitely won't go over his career. In 2015, it was 661, were the amount of attempts that he threw. And I think he's going to be right about that. And quite frankly, if we get a 14 game Keenan Allen will not only finish as a top 5 wide receiver, but Phillip Rivers will definitely be quarterback 1 for sure.
Wait, I know this is a quarterback show, but who do you bump out of the top 5 ranks if you think Keenan Allen finishes as a top 5?
If Keenan Allen,
assuming we have like the obvious top 3 guys, and then we have AJ and Mike Evans, like one of those guys would have to.
I was gonna say Mike Evans. Like I think Antonio, ODB, Julio do what they normally do, and then I'll take Mike Evans based on a little bit of a Jameis Winston, and then also just with the amount of air yards that Mike Evans got. I think those come down a little bit as well. So
we'll probably be betting money on AJ Green and Mike Evans too.
Sounds fun to me. I'll put money on anything. You said a line and we're good. It don't matter. I'll take it.
AJ versus Evans sounds like an easy bet to me.
Please
side are you on, TJ?
Tell me you want the AJ side, TJ.
Yeah, it's not even close.
Oh, thank God. Let's take some Proctor money right now.
Wait. No. You guys are on the AJ Green side, right?
Yeah, I want AJ.
Absolutely.
Okay. No. Then I'm on the same side. I thought you were saying you want Mike Evans on that side, Hodge.
No,
absolutely not.
I was saying if Keenan Allen finishes top 5,
you're bumping Mike. Okay.
I'm bumping Mike Evans out.
When you said I will take Mike Evans, I thought you meant you were keeping him in your 5.
Mm-hmm. Drink another beer. Let's go.
Dude, I'm drinking 90 Light. I can drink 12 more.
Good to know.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk Dak. I think Dak is an interesting one this offseason. I have him probably a lot higher than most people. He's like I've moved him back and forth between him and Mariota and Cam like 3 different times. But I have him in the same tier as those guys above, like the Rivers, Roethlisberger tier. I don't think most people agree with me. Where are you guys at on Dak?
I do not agree with you on that. I'm not out on him. I think he's just outside the top 12. Like, do you think that he continues that same touchdown percentage that he had? Do you think that his adjusted yards per attempt are as high as they were? Do you think that Dallas offensive line, quite frankly, is as good as it pass blocking as it was last year? And I don't know, man. You saw one, like, look, he was great. Nobody can deny that. I think you're smoking the wrong kind of weed if you're taking Dak Prescott over Mariota or Cam Newton.
I'm probably not going to take him over those 2.
Okay.
But I think he's in the same tier as those guys for me. I think there's people forget a little bit that he didn't run a ton, but he ran the ball. Mm-hmm. And he's sort of the last running quarterback. I mean, my boy Bortles likes to run the ball a little bit, but Dak's sort of the last like running quarterback of like the legitimate, like efficient quarterback tier. Tyrod, I don't even want to talk about Tyrod ever again, but we can talk about Tyrod in a minute. But I have trouble seeing that offense like suddenly becoming bad. I mean, there really hasn't been a whole lot of change. The offensive line has changed a little bit, but there's a lot of continuity in the O-line. They have 2 rookie, sort of their stars, or their 2 rookies who are going to be, in their second year in the NFL. They should get better with, learning how to play in the NFL. I don't see why he's going to regress unless this was all just a fluke, which is, possible, but I would bet against that.
My take on this is I think the entire Dallas offense finished at the absolute top of their range of outcomes, not just in fantasy, but just in terms of success as a team and wins and scoring for both Dak and Ezekiel Elliott. They ran the most plays in the league in game neutral situations where the score was within a touchdown either way, and most of those turned into wins for them. At the same time, they had the third lowest turnover rate in the league of any team in the past 5 seasons, and Dak had a interception rate below 1%. That's only been done twice in the past 5 years by Tom Brady. That I don't think he can stay as lucky in terms of not throwing interceptions, and a lot of that had to do with him playing in a dumbed down offense for at least the first half of the season. And I think teams are going to adjust to him. And when the ball doesn't bounce the right way for them, and they get into these situations where they're playing from behind in those close games, you could make the argument that leads to more passing situations, but those aren't situations where quarterbacks tend to thrive. Those are situations where they really tend to struggle and turn the ball over because teams are ahead and playing for the pass. You want that efficiency, not the volume. So I think he sees a slight dip in production. He does have that kind of Konami code aspect in terms of the rushing, but that doesn't necessarily bump him up in rankings. All that really does is give you more of a floor and get rid of some of that variance. If you are starting him in redraft leagues, you can rely on those 3 to 4 points that you're guaranteed to get. But I'm just kind of concerned about this offense as a whole, and I think when he does see more tough situations, it's just going to lead to struggles that we didn't see his rookie year.
But at the same time, when you say that one of those games was the playoff game, against the Packers, that was kind of the first time we saw the Dak struggle game. And
against the worst secondary in the league that we've probably seen since the Saints 2 years ago.
That's true, but at the same time, the Packers secondary we saw in the playoffs, not to say they were much better, but they were a little better. But we still saw that he's not like the guy who's just going to go out and completely shit the bed when they're down. I don't know. I think you look at a guy who only threw the ball 450 times. Would you guys agree that he'll probably throw the ball more next year?
No.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be – I think it might be marginally more, but I just think it's going to be in a lot worse situations.
I struggle to see their offense changing much dynamic at all. Obviously, I don't think he's going to only throw 4 interceptions, but I still think that they are behind at least one of the best 3 offensive lines. We've seen, what the Raiders offensive line can do for Derek Carr. Does anyone think that Derek Carr was actually going to be that good coming out of the league if he wasn't behind the Raiders O-line? I think there's something to be said about playing behind one of those kinds of lines. Do you guys think their line will regress, or do you think that just he's going to be less lucky?
No, I think if you're playing behind a top 5 offensive line in the NFL, then you're fine, right? Any way you look at it. So where did they finish last year? 2 or 3 in regards to PFF grade or whatever grades you look at when it comes to an offensive line. So no, I think they're fine there. I think once again, this goes back to why me and TJ want to take Kirk Cousins and you don't. It's just it's a price thing, right? And I prefer some quarterbacks at his current price than Prescott. I will take Eli Manning over Dak Prescott, and it's not even close. I'll take Matt Stafford over Dak Prescott every time, I think. And they're actually closer in regards to an ADP. I think they actually go in the same round.
They're pretty close.
Both push the back half of the 10th, right? So
yeah. I don't know. I'm probably higher on Dak than probably I should be.
I feel like I'm way lower than the public on Dak. Obviously I am because his ADP is QB 13 right now, so I guess that's kind of where I would expect him to be. But I just feel like I have more concerns than a lot of people do.
I think, though, I will say Dallas is one offensive lineman injury away from falling apart, where I think, Phillip Rivers is not.
Because his offensive line is already in shambles.
Right. He's
dealt with it.
He's played behind, Swiss cheese offensive line. So I think there's that degree of, if the continuity doesn't exist for Dak, it could completely go down the tubes. So I think the floor, people think of Dak as sort of a floor quarterback, and I think the floor, I agree with TJ in the sense that the floor is not as safe as people think, but I think there is a little more of a ceiling than people think. I don't know. I think if he's given more to do, I think that he could do a lot more. I think he could run more. I think he could throw more. And I think the offense could be a little more potent. I mean, we look at a Dallas offense that was a top 3 offense with a quarterback giving they gave him like simple things to do for the most of the season. They just fucking ran the ball. They didn't care. They didn't change anything. So I don't know. Not that I think Dallas is all that creative, but I think they could be. And I think we could see a little more, maybe.
Do you think that Zeke catches, maybe 10, 15 more balls than he did last year? He's caught 30 or something?
God, I hope so.
Well, all right. We'll save that for running backs. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that would help out Dak. So I'm just trying to understand.
The worst thing in the world was the week I went on a rant saying that Zeke doesn't catch passes. He caught that 80-yard touchdown pass. It was his only fucking catch of the game.
Yeah. Well, we all have that.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time on that. I don't know what, quarterback 8 through 14. Are we all in agreement that is agreement the word? Do we all agree that Rodgers, Brady, Luck is kind of where it is, or Rodgers, Brady, Breeze is where we're at?
Yeah, I'd probably jump Wilson over Luck if we're looking at 4. I think Brady, Rodgers, Breeze is pretty easy. Wilson was basically the anti-Dak last year. Everything that went wrong for him in terms of fantasy scoring did go wrong. His injury, his scoring rates were all just really low. He's behind a bad offensive line, but we've seen him just be super efficient throughout his career. And last year that just didn't happen, and we didn't get any of the rushing with Russ. Very, very easy top 3 for me. But I put Russ as my QB4.
I think I'm with you on Russ. I think it's important to note too that since he has taken over, his pass attempts have gone up every single time since he's been the starter. And so I think that will continue as well. I think no way in hell am I going to pay for an Andrew Luck when I can wait for Russell Wilson. It just doesn't make sense to me.
On top of that, Luck is he just has shoulder surgery. He's not even throwing yet.
Right.
So, I'm kind of waiting to see, although I think it could be a good thing for Luck if we see good things out of him, but we haven't seen it yet. So I think Wilson for now is a value because he's going a round or 2 later than Breeze, I think. And I think that, if you want to take an early quarterback, that's the one I'm taking. Generally the only early quarterback I take is when I'm hungover and I auto draft Andrew Luck. But I'm not taking him on purpose.
Dude, Jameis Winston, my number 1 timeout pick in MFL10 right now. God.
But you like him, right?
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it. I don't like taking a quarterback within the first 6 rounds to begin with. So that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah.
Silva asked a question in chat. He said, if you draft Wilson and Marcus in MFL10, do you need a third?
No.
Not even a Sam Bradford late?
2 quarterbacks before the end of the 10th? There's no way I'm taking a third.
If I get any 2 quarterbacks and I don't flub the bye weeks up to – I have Joe Flacco as my QB 19. If I get any of those 2 guys, I'm just rolling with those 2 quarterbacks because we're winner take all here.
Right.
Who cares about being safe? If you're that third quarterback isn't going to bump you from 4th place to 1st place. Whereas like a DeAndre Washington or somebody that you're getting late, or even some receiver that blows up. Those are going to be the late round picks that are going to make or break if you're kind of on that tier of having a chance to win your league. Like, this is winner take all. Like, you have to embrace the variance of these leagues, and for that reason, I almost, unless I just completely miss the run, I'm almost exclusively 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah. If I'm getting like Bortles and Flacco, I'll probably take like a
See, I even like
something.
See, I think that's like my cutoff, though. Even if I get Bortles, Flacco, like those guys, their range of outcomes is so high that you could win leagues with those. We know Bortles can be a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and then Flacco is just going to throw so much that you're going to get his good games when they come. He's just going to chuck it deep. So given this league format, like even that combo looks disgusting, but they could win you an MFL10 pretty easily.
I agree. And I think for the most part, the only like QB3, like late QB3 that I am taking at all is Brian Hoyer. I'm not taking Jared Goff. I'm not taking Patrick Mahomes. I'm not taking these guys that I think could play like 5, 6, 7 games. I don't want a quarterback who doesn't have like a 12 plus guaranteed games on his season.
What's the over under on Mahomes games? I would put it at like 2.
That's what I'm saying. People are drafting this guy. He's not going to play. He's not going to play 8 games.
No, I would rather have so the reason I'm getting a third quarterback is because I completely whiffed on the position, and I have somebody like I ended up with like a Wentz and a Tannehill who I have no idea what I'm going to get, and you're not going to get a late ceiling quarterback. So I'd almost rather have Alex Smith as my QB3 if I get stuck in that situation, because I'm going to get something out of him, right? Like that's why you should be drafting a third quarterback, because you just whiffed on the position completely.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, you have your Alex Smiths, your Sam Bradfords, your Brian Hoyers. That's kind of it for me. I guess Deshaun Watson. I mean, I think you get 10 games out of him, but I don't know. They say Tom Savage is going to start. I mean, I don't believe it, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, if that was actually a prop, I might take the under on 10, but I think you're close to where you said it, but I still think I take the under.
And that's the thing, is it's like, we don't know, but I think Hoyer plays a whole season or close to it.
I think if we're looking at the rookie quarterbacks, so we're looking at Trubisky, Mahomes, and then who's the one I'm missing?
I think Trubisky's the one, quite frankly.
Yeah, but I mean, my point is, like,
are you
all
talking
those
about
guys?
Deshaun?
Yeah, all those guys, like, none of them are really going to come in and guaranteed play team. Like, we don't have a rookie quarterback that we can even set an over under of 8 games on.
Right. All right.
And even if we want to set it at 8, it's still not a good number.
No.
So I got a couple questions for you, and we kind of have to do them in a vacuum, considering like your roster construction with MFL10s are equal. You have equal amount of wide receivers, equal amount of running backs. You didn't go like 4 wide receivers out of your first 6 picks or anything like that. Would you rather have Kirk Cousins at an ADP of 9.08, or would you rather have a Eric Decker, Kelvin Benjamin, or Martavis Bryant? They all kind of go similar. Actually, I'm sorry. Take Kelvin Benjamin out of that list. He's actually pushing the 8th round, 7th round right now.
I never want Kelvin Benjamin on my team.
All right, perfect. So Eric Decker or Martavis Bryant or Dante Moncrief or Kirk Cousins, considering you have a fully balanced roster and this is your first quarterback that you're taking.
I take all 3 of the wide receivers, but I'm an unfair biased vote.
We know where you stand on Kirk Cousins. TJ?
Tavis would be my pick there.
Okay. Now, rather than Kirk Cousins, let's say it is Derek Carr or Cam Newton.
Cam.
Ooh, I'm still probably taking
the field on the wide receivers.
That's tough. Say the wide receiver. It's Decker, Martavis, and
it is Decker, Martavis, and Moncrief. They all have an ADP between of 902 and 907 currently.
Yeah, I'm not buying Moncrief, but I'm probably buying the other 2 over those guys. I wait. I just wait. I for the most part on quarterback, and this is sort of my strategy. I guess I should give a general overview. I just sort of wait until guys fall below where their ADP is, and then I just take them. Because I'm not in a hurry to draft a quarterback at all, but I'm always in to bolster my wide receivers because I'm usually taking running backs early. So Eric Decker for a lot of parts is going to end up being like my wide receiver 4 or something.
Sure.
And that's like really important for me, for my roster construction, for what it's worth.
Okay, so let's ditch the wide receivers and we'll go to a little bit of a running back ADP. And you have guys like Samaje Perine, Jonathan Stewart, James White going around all between like 9.05 and 9.10, give or take. And then you obviously have the quarterbacks at the same spot. Are you taking one of those running backs considering you have a balanced roster, or are you taking a quarterback at that spot?
Not Perine. I like White. Who was the third running back?
Jonathan Stewart.
Jonathan Stewart. I like Stewart okay, but I'm not going to take Stewart, who I think is like a hit or miss running back, over a strong quarterback option.
TJ?
When I'm getting outside of a couple of wide receivers that I really like, when I'm getting to like that 9, and especially if I'm towards the back of round 9, I'm really hesitant to pass up on the quarterback because between rounds 9 and 12 are where those quarterback runs are really happening. And considering that everybody's pretty much drafting 2, if you're at the tail end of 9 and pass on a quarterback, that's where you could get yourself into a lot of trouble. So like, I know you're just kind of talking about in a vacuum in terms of like players, but in MFL10s, if like a Cam or a Cousins is sitting there, I'm almost always going to take them just because I don't love the running backs in that range.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, the running backs in that range are, I mean, generally, if I don't have 3 running backs by round 9, I probably fucked up. I mean, or 4.
The running backs are pretty gross in that range. I mean, after LeGarrette Blount, we're looking at Kareem Hunt,
Duke Johnson.
Yeah, it just gets that area is so ugly. I'd so much rather just wait forever and get, even if I only have 3, I'd rather just wait and get like Sproles and DeAndre Washington than take any of those guys.
Perfect.
Agreed. All right. Two last things to talk about, I think, before we finish this off. Let's talk Tyrod Taylor real quick. I will have, unless I auto-drafted some, let me check. I have auto-drafted some. I will not on purpose draft Tyrod Taylor unless he really, really falls. Probably outside of like the QB 20 range. I'm not taking him on purpose because I think you're getting the same quarterback with Alex Smith that you get with Tyrod Taylor, 60 picks later. Are you guys in on Tyrod? I know Tyrod was one of your boys, TJ. Is he your boy this year?
Yeah, I mean, if he's finally freed from the shackles of Greg Roman and Ryan, who are just like hell-bent on running no matter the situation, not letting him throw in the red zone or at all for that matter. And then if we look at his splits with Watkins healthy, which is a stretch, but he's going to post 1 numbers. And again, I keep going back to this point, but if we're in this format where we are trying to get first place, that is really done by getting these guys that are really going to outperform their ADP. I mean, we could sit here and argue that middle tier that we want all day, but at the end of the day, we're kind of picking straws. They're probably all going to finish pretty close to that range and not outperform it by a lot. Whereas Tyrod, you're getting him at a price where he can jump up to the tier with those guys, and you're getting him cheaper, and that's kind of how you catapult yourself in these leagues. So I kind of want to get some of that variance, hoping that he gets Sammy for a full season, and I have to have some exposure to him.
But my concerns are that I don't actually think Tyrod is all that special. I think he's been behind a run-first offense. I think he just has thrown the ball deep. You know, he has a low completion percentage. He's had a pretty insane interception percentage for 2 years in a row. I just worry that like once he's given like the full reins of the offense, that's not going to be a great thing for someone like him who might not be that guy. I don't know. Do you think he is that guy once he's given the chance?
I think it's important.
I mean,
go ahead, Tej.
Go ahead, Audrey.
So I think it's important if Sammy Watkins stays healthy. Tyrod's yards per attempt are up almost a full point when Watkins is fully healthy and doing his thing. I also think this depends on if you're a LaShawn McCoy believer or not. If you think that he's going to touch the ball as many times and score as many touchdowns as he did on the ground, not via the pass, then I think you have to knock Tyrod down just a little bit. But I think what Tyrod's current ADP is back half of the 11th or something like that. I think that's fine. I genuinely don't have a problem with that. If you missed out on a Stafford or a Kirk or Rivers at that point due to their current ADP because you went for a Duke Johnson or whatever it was, or you're a Jamal Charles believer and you took him 3 rounds earlier than you should have, I'm fine with Tyrod at that point as your QB1. I don't know. I think that shows my wishy-washy stance on him, but
I'm not even wishy-washy because it's not like we have like this small sample that we tend to do with a lot of these players where it's like, oh, Dalton had 5 games without Eifert or AJ Green. Like he's pretty much 50-50. He's had 19 games with Sammy and 1 without, and we're looking at 22.5 fantasy points per game, 11.3 without. Like the splits are so huge and a pretty much even sample. Now, I'm not saying he's going to score 23 fantasy points per game, but I mean that shows us what his ceiling is over a 19-game sample. 23 points per game is quarterback 2 last season. So like on a week-to-week basis, he could be rolling out top 5 QB numbers for you. And again, you're going to have 2 quarterbacks to soften the blow on any down weeks. Like that ceiling, where else are you going to get that ceiling at that price?
I have concerns for the ceiling. I have concerns for Tyrod's ability to be a guy throwing the ball 30, 40 times a game. That's my concern. I have concerns for his ability to like be a complete commander of an offense.
But Buffalo should run the ball less this year, like especially when Sammy plays 16. If you predict that Sammy is going to be injured again, then you're also smoking the wrong kind of weed.
I'm not predicting that Sammy's going to be injured. I think Tyrod's a bomber. I don't think he's an elite, put a drive together kind of quarterback. I think he is a run the ball, play action bomber. And I think he's a unique type of quarterback that has to be managed in what he does. And that's my concern. And I know this is something outside of efficiency numbers, but I think that he is unique in what he does. I don't know if that makes any sense with what I'm trying to say regarding Tyrod. I mean, he throws downfield. He's not a guy who is, Tyrod hasn't put a slot receiver on the map.
Okay.
I mean, does that make any sense?
It does. You're saying his air yards were small.
I guess his air yards should be high, right? I mean,
vice versa.
Tyrod's throwing downfield more than the normal quarterback.
Correct.
I don't know. I think he's I don't think he's a complete quarterback in that sense. So it concerns me for his ability once they start giving him more control of an offense. And I think there were reasons that the Bills didn't give him those complete controls of the offense. I think there were reasons that the Ravens weren't all that stoked about him either. That's
Do you think
my
Cam
concern.
Newton's a better quarterback than Tyrod Taylor? That's a serious question.
Oh.
Yes. Do I think he's like that much better? No. But do I think he's more durable? I do think he's more durable.
I think probably Tyrod and Cam are like coin flip who's the better quarterback. They both have rushing ability, and I think they probably have and Tyrod has even though the whole probably isn't better in terms of weapons, it's probably not much worse, and Sammy's light head and shoulders above any weapon that Cam's going to be throwing to.
I don't know, man. Calvin looks really good when he's this offseason. But no, I have concerns with Tyrod's like short passing. I think that Cam is probably a better short passer than I think Cam is a better short passer than Tyrod. But then again, I mean, at the same time, we haven't really seen Tyrod be a short passer. He hasn't been given that role. So I mean, he could definitely come out and do way better in those areas, the short to intermediate areas, than I'm expecting him to do. But I just have concerns because we really haven't seen it.
Is that a Tyrod thing though, or is that a system and a weapons thing? I mean, it's not even. It doesn't necessarily translate to short passes and intermediate passes, but there's probably some correlation. Like they had the lowest percentage of passes over the middle last year. I think it was only 14%, and it was light years lower than anybody else in the league. I think they were the only team below 20%, and I think that has a lot to do with him just not having someone to throw it to. I mean, their weapons have been horrible. Charles Clay's just a guy. And I mean, I keep going back to it, but I just think with Sammy on the field that you're going to get ridiculous upside at a pretty affordable price. And again, the quarterback is a position, though the one position MFL10s where no matter how much you like somebody, everybody's packed so closely together, and the decline is so linear at the position that you should just kind of be having equal shares across the board. Like we're not going to go all in on any one player. So to not have exposure, like even as much as I hate someone like Dak or Matt Ryan at their price, I think it'd be pretty bad process to not have exposure to quarterback in MFL10s.
I agree with you on that. I don't think there's any quarterback that I'm going to completely fade like 100%. Although the rookies definitely.
Yeah, well, I just mean like my point of like the someone going in like the 10th round at wide receiver or running back, like they're so cheap. I'm happy to have, I don't know, I'll take 40% of a guy, whereas quarterbacks, I'm probably keeping it around 25%, even the guys I like the most, just because like you're not separating yourself from the field that much, except for like, I don't like maybe if Dalton just catapults and he's like one of the cheapest guys we've talked about.
No, I'm with you. My flattest exposures are definitely the quarterbacks. That's for sure. Hodge, you got any last minute thoughts?
Yeah, you said you're not going to fade anybody. I'm probably fading Alex Smith.
The only reason I won't fade Alex Smith is he's one of the guys that I will take as a third quarterback if I fuck up the buys.
So you're saying you own Alex Smith when you time out because you drafted at 11:58, were drunk, and didn't wake up till 12 the next day?
I don't fuck up the buys because I timed out. I fuck up the buys because I'm like, oh, this guy dropped. What a great pick. And then I pick him. And then I'm like, fuck. He has the same buy as the other quarterback that I already picked.
So what you're saying is Alex Smith is still a fade.
He's not someone that I'm like actively going out the draft. That's for sure.
EOM says everybody in your leagues is fading Alex Smith, and that's about right. It's accurate. Yet Kelsey's a back of 2, first 3 pick.
We'll get there on the tight end week. TJ, anyone that you're fading on quarterbacks in the top 24? I mean,
in the top 24. I just said I'm going to have a little bit of exposure to everybody, but I really don't want to buy Matt Ryan when he's going around Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, Cousins, even Dak. As much as I like talked him down, I'm just having a really hard time taking any Matt Ryan at this point with all those guys around. Like once we get, like when I start really managing my exposures, I'll force myself to take him a little bit, but he'll be my lowest owned quarterback in that range by far.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on Ryan.
That's actually a really good point. I was just looking at the back half of your draft, and to be quite frank, I will probably not own any Brady or any Rodgers. I have no I'm sorry that's simple to us as we talk about it, but just to make sure that any listener understands, I will have 0% Aaron Rodgers this year.
Yeah, I guess I should have mentioned that. I mean, I have some exposure to those guys because I started so early when there were a lot of really sharp guys drafting before the NFL draft. Their ADP was like 5th or 6th round, so I just want a little bit of exposure to them, and it's as cheap as you'll ever get them. But if you're starting right now, I wouldn't have any of them either. Like Breeze, you can still luck boxing. Like there's times where you can get him into 6th, and I'll do that just because it's like such a value. But Brady and Rodgers, I should have mentioned that too. I agree with you 100% there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. Well, I think that about covers it. Got to say that we are sponsored by My Fantasy League. We are going to run some listener leagues. The guests will be in them, so TJ will be joining us for one of 2 of the listener leagues that we do. Hodge and I will both be in them. Probably Scott. I don't know if what he's going to be doing, but you will be comped for those entries if you leave us a review on iTunes. And if you have not done any MFL 10s, make sure you go to MFL10s, MFL10s.com, and sign up. Check TJ out on 4for4 Football. Check out rostercoach.com. Find TJ on Twitter at TJ Hernandez. Find Hodge at Ryan Hodge. Find me at John Proctor DFS. And start playing MFL 10s. I mean, if you're not playing them, you should be, because they are a blast. You guys got any last-minute thoughts?
Nope.
All right.
I can't do the official announcement, but keep your eyes out for a really cool MFL 10 thing I got coming out in the next couple of weeks. It'll be on Twitter.
Well, once TJ puts it out, the pod will tweet it. We will tweet it. You guys will see it. All right. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Later, boys.